Hello ladies and gents, this is Alexander Pennecke, personal trainer and actor. Today's video is going to be all about push-ups, dreaded push-ups, ways to do push-ups, ways to do regular push-ups, ways to make them easier or harder if you have wrist problems, ways to fix that. So stay tuned, click subscribe wherever the button is if you can, leave a like or a comment or whatever, and I hope you enjoy. Okay, first we're going to focus on how to do a proper push-up. One thing to keep in mind, make sure that your hands, palms down to the fingertips, are all flat on the ground. Try not to raise anything up, anything like that. Keep them flat on the ground. This is just for your standard push-up. Another thing, when they're down on the ground, you don't want them to come in like this or like this. None of that, because you're going to wind up flaring your elbows out, which is going to put stress on the wrist joint, which is what a lot of people run into when they're doing push-ups. Let me demonstrate. So, hands are flat, my fingers point that way, and I come up into the push-up position. As you can see, there's a straight line from my heels all the way through my legs, through my butt, all the way up through the top of my head. I form a straight line, as straight a line as I can. If any sagging or lifting is going to throw off things, hurt your wrists, throw off the exercise, potentially hurt your back, you want to be not here, not here. You want to be right in the center, straight line. So again, my fingertips are pointing that way, my hands are flat on the ground, my elbows are going to shoot back, and then I'm going to come back up. Shoot back, come back up. Again, we're trying not to do anything that's going to flare our elbows out or move our hands around. I'll show you again. And don't forget to breathe. Ready? That's a proper push-up. So now let's take a look at some other variations. Okay, so for those of us who get wrist pain when they do push-ups, there's a couple of different ways to get around that. You can do push-ups on your fists. Just like before, same form. I'm just on my fists, doing push-ups. Now, I'd recommend putting a pad under your hands because that can get, a little painful after a while. But if you don't like those, you can also grab dumbbells and do push-ups. Same thing. Same form, still pushing the elbows back. I'm still maintaining a straight line from the top of my head all the way down through my heels. But what I've effectively done in these two variations is taken the angle on the wrist from here to here. And because of that, I've cut off any sort of impingement or pain that can happen or occur in the wrist. And I mean, just experiment. If you have kettlebells, two kettlebells of the same height, you're doing the same thing that you were doing with the dumbbells. You can try push-ups that way. What you want to look for is anything that just has a flat, anything that's not going to roll over on you. So if you're a little unstable, maybe avoid the kettlebells. But if you're going to use dumbbells, make sure they have a flat surface so that when you're doing them, they don't roll around, because that could cause you more problems than a little bit of wrist pain. I mean, try it out, experiment. Like I said, with foam, ropes, anything. Whatever you find works best for you is what's going to allow you to do the exercise and will stop the pain from occurring. So let's check out a few push-ups on the Smith machine. Okay, so piggybacking on what we just learned, another way that you can do push-ups is to use the Smith machine. The Smith machine is a barbell machine where if you flick your wrist, you can adjust the heights of it by locking them into place on various notches. A lot of people use it for bench, squats, but for our purposes, we're going to usually be using it for push-ups. So, I grab the Smith machine, and I get in a push-up position just as before. Now, before we start, if you don't have a Smith machine, you can use, ballerina bars, anything. Any sort of lateral bar, horizontal bar will work just fine. It's just about taking off that angle that we usually put the wrist into. So when I'm doing regular push-ups just like before, I am at a 90-degree angle. It can be a stress on the wrists. But it doesn't have to be if I grab the barbell, because when I'm grabbing the barbell, I've essentially cut off that angle, and, you know, stopped any sort of wrist pain from occurring. So, you can grab the Smith machine, put it at a comfortable height. I'm up in the push-up position just like before. I'm still going to do push-ups the same way, but now I'm just at an angle, just like this. I push off, come back down. So I can go to a regular, a lower height to make it more challenging for myself. Lower it a notch. Come down even further, lower it a notch. Do push-ups even further, from an even lower notch. A way I like to do this, I don't tend to get wrist pain with my push-ups. This is a great way for people to do them who do get wrist pain, but even if you don't, you can still utilize this. This is a great warm-up. Start in a push-up position from the ground, do a few regular push-ups, then bring this up, put it on one of the notches, do a few push-ups. Raise it, do a few more push-ups. And once you've raised it a few times, then start to lower it again. Lower it, do push-ups, lower it, do push-ups until you're doing, you're back on the ground, doing regular push-ups again. That's a great way to get warmed up for your chest day, upper body day, anything. This is a great tool to use. Other than that, that's my explanation for how to use the Smith machine for push-ups. Now, let's look at ways to make push-ups harder, shall we? Okay, so let's make these push-ups harder. One way to do that is, instead of elevating your hands, which is easier, elevate your feet. So because I've raised the angle, maintaining the same form, it effectively makes the push-ups more challenging. So still maintain that straight line, still make sure your hands are flat on the ground, but now you're just elevating the feet. And it can put a lot more, not so much pressure, but it can be a lot more challenging for the muscles involved in the push-ups. Another thing you can do is grab a ball, lean on it, get in the push-up position, and hold yourself steady while doing push-ups. This is a really challenging one. It works on your balance as well. Other than that, there's the classics, such as the clapping push-up. This one's fun. You can challenge yourself to do 2, 3. I haven't gotten to 3 yet, but that's a great one. I love that push-up. Other than that, if you want to make things more challenging for yourself and you have wrist problems, you can still elevate your feet and grab hold of dumbbells and do these types of push-ups. Might be a little bit more challenging. It might be a little bit more challenging for the ones with the ball, but when you're holding the ball, your hands kind of go off to the side, so there shouldn't be as much pressure on your wrists. But once you've mastered the more basic forms of the push-up, you can move on to some of these variations. So I'm gonna go do some of these. I hope you guys enjoyed, and tune in for the next video. And don't forget to click subscribe. Thank you very much.